Hello and welcome to the Quiet Light Podcast. Again, I'm Pat Yates. I have a great episode today. We actually have the Quiet Light marketing company of record who works with our group Quiet Light, as well as works with me a little bit in the ecom brands that I have. And they're just amazing dudes. I tell you what, every time I go in and I talk to Pat Grady with Amazing Ads, I just find out something new about marketing I didn't know. And if not, it's a great conversation about where your business is going. I think in this day and time, everybody gets blown up on their inbox of people who want to do your marketing or send you the email. I saw a bad thing about one of your ads. Let us talk to you and tell you how to make it better. It's a way to lead to be able to go in. This is the lowest pressure group that I've ever seen. Not only are they low pressure, they probably add more value in other areas they don't bill by talking to you about where your marketing can be, some philosophies. We actually had them work with my wife on a brand where they started it brand new to be able to get the right reviews, go slowly to make sure you're doing the right things. I think their advice they can give you is always actionable, and these guys are always willing to help with marketing. Amazing Ads itself pretty much covers about anything that you can market to. So whether it's just one segment of your company or something else, I think these guys can really help you. So I'm really excited to talk to Sal and Pat about this today. So let's get right to it. Sal and Pat, welcome to the Quiet Light Podcast. It's awesome to have you here today.
Thank you.
Glad to be here.
Yeah, Pat, I'll start with you. I know that you have a lot of people that you work with, especially one of our best buyers, Mike Nunez, who I talk to passionately about your business. I want to talk today about Amazing Ads. You have just an unbelievable business. I think people always go in and out of agencies. But before we do that, why don't you guys introduce yourselves? Pat, if you want to go first, where you're from and maybe a little bit of background.
All right. Well, I grew up in Florida. I live in Florida now, but in between my two Florida stops, I was in the Navy. I lived all around the country. I've traveled throughout Europe quite a bit. I worked for a couple of European companies. I live at the beach now, which has always been a lifelong goal of mine. When I wake up in the morning, I can see the sun rising over the ocean. I think that's fantastic. I've been doing PPC for more than 20 years. I predate Google Ads. In the beginning, I was an affiliate marketer using Overture and Yahoo and some other engines that no longer exist. So I am definitely a PPC dinosaur, still alive and kicking.
That's really amazing. So you have an unbelievable perspective going all the way back to the very beginning. That's awesome. So Sal, what about you? Tell everyone about you.
Yeah. So thanks again for letting me be here. I've got 20 plus years in digital marketing. I've been doing this for a long time too. Pat and I have developed a great relationship over the years. We met through the affiliate industry, which both of us still hold very near and dear to our hearts. We've got a lot of relationships in the affiliate space that we continue to have today, with our business. And so I have a background in music. I have a love for food. I have a background in film and video as well. So, and then marketing, I've been doing forever. I have an MBA in marketing that I don't mention very often, but I also teach MBA students in marketing as well now. Serendipitously, two of my students work for us at Amazing Ads. And so it's been a great way to come full circle in my career and everything like that. So.
Education is a great background in my family. My mother, I've talked about many times on here, was a principal and teacher as well. My wife retired from the school system. It's amazing people that sink themselves into education. That's really awesome. Pat, you and I spent a lot of time together in the last year talking about, marketing philosophy, getting you clients over through Quiet Light that need to improve those things. Tell us a little bit about the beginning of Amazing Ads and what your philosophy was behind the company.
Yeah, I guess about 7 years ago, I just saw marketplaces emerging onto the ecosystem. And I saw a lot of people moving that way. And I've always been an optimizer of PPC. I consider myself not a marketing genius, like someone who would be really creative and create ads that are just stunning. I'm more of a spreadsheet analytical numbers guy. And that optimization techniques, a lot of the things that I cut my teeth on in the affiliate marketing world and then on Google Ads, they cross over onto multiple marketplaces. When you're talking about, using bids instead of budget, automation, rules-based systems, budget allocation, goals like ROAS and ACOS, and just making sure that you always eliminate wasted spend. I always think many of our clients, they have an overall goal of, I want to spend X and sell Y. That means if I waste $1 somewhere, I kind of necessarily have to take it from someplace productive to waste it. So we think of a wasted dollar as our enemy, and we just have to go turn over every stone and every leaf and look for wasted dollars. And today, there are so many smart people competing against us, right? Not only from inside the United States, but so many direct sellers from China, from Asia, from Mexico, that and they have a different cost of living, a different cost structure, and perhaps a different supply chain perspective. If you are not relentlessly optimizing your advertising, you will lose. So we have a saying around here, to starve the losers and feed the winners. And you need to really be cold about things like that and say, like, I can't waste advertising dollars. If I waste $1 someplace, I take it from someplace that's a winner, and that's nonsense, right? So I guess that's the key. No matter what we do, video advertising, upper funnel, everything has to be measured and excruciatingly dissected to figure out how we can get more for less.
That's a great way to approach it. Sal, I know that, sometimes companies can get too metric driven. I think that Pat does a great job looking at those spreadsheets, but he's got such great instincts. That's one thing I've found from him. So as you guys have evolved, Sal, I know you work on some different areas in there. What are some of the top areas that you're working on right now in Amazing Ads? How it can pay off for clients?
Yeah, I think that's one of the things. And, I've been working with Pat for the last 2 years, but that was through another agency. And recently this year we merged. So the two agencies have now come together. The former agency was Windfall Media. We're now wholly merged as Amazing Ads. And the Windfall Media side, we were engaged in a lot of like top of funnel activities, more of the soft skills, right? I have a background in performance, but I have this also love for video and audience marketing and all that type of stuff, personas. So we're doing a lot on YouTube and connected TV platforms like Mountain. So, with that, we're now finding ways to target programmatic audiences, creating contextual advertising that speaks directly to a person. If you've ever been on YouTube, we've all seen those ads, the pre-roll ads, skip this ad and all that stuff, right? We run a lot of those skippable in-stream ads. Have you ever seen one that feels like it's just speaking directly to you and you sit there and wonder, how did they know that about me, right? Well, the guys like us, we know that stuff about you, right? Not you specifically, Pat Yates, but we know your persona and who you are based on your behaviors and the video you're about to watch potentially, or what you've done on Google previously. And so we can put an ad right in front of you that speaks to you directly. And that's really part of the fun, right? And how many different personas we can carve up and make the creative sing. Because as Google takes more and more of our controls away, the creative is what's going to stand out more and more. And that hasn't been the way, right? Creative agencies, they'll look at this and say, of course, the creative means something. But in the digital space where performance was king, always, and it still should be, but we need to rely on the creative more and more as Google and the AI takes over the performance aspects of the digital marketing space.
Sal, that's a great point. I'm going to stick with you on this question. You and I talked a little bit about video and how things have changed. It's weird because, like Pat, I've had the same e-commerce business for over 20 years. So I've watched it go from when I was doing basic Google PPC to other things to growth. And I think guys like me are sort of jaded a little bit to the old school way of doing it. And as you get into new video, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, you can really upgrade what you're doing. But what kind of things in video do you think are super important other than YouTube? Are there things out there that people need to be leveraging?
Yeah, we're really in love with the connected TV platforms like Mountain. So imagine you're watching a show on your big screen and you're watching it through an app like your Paramount app, or I would say Netflix, but Netflix is still like a walled gated garden. Or Amazon even now has its own video advertising you could run in there. So with platforms like Mountain, you're now buying audiences. So as opposed to the old days where you bought TV advertising, and I wanted to be buy an ad spot at prime time at 8 o'clock on Thursday night when Seinfeld was on, I'm dating myself, or buying a Super Bowl ad. Instead, I'm now buying that audience. I'm following the person. So whether they're watching daytime TV, their favorite show, like The Walking Dead, whatever they're streaming, it doesn't matter. I'm going after that person, that persona, based on the data that I have inside platforms like Mountain. which is programmatic advertising. It's not something totally new, but it was used to be only used for display advertising.
Right. I agree with that too. It's really interesting because you and I discussed how YouTube TV is becoming an interesting opportunity, even Hulu TV for a lot of people, because that ad follows and then you get that television, semi-television presence. It seems like you're going national. Sometimes you're not, and it's not as big a spend. So I think those kind of opportunities are really, really growing. That's amazing. So Pat, looking back, I mean, you have an amazing team. One of the things I'm sort of amazed at your company as I work with you, obviously, is how great your team has been. What's been the key to being able to find some of the best marketing people that you can find in the industry to go out and work for your clients?
We almost always hire people that have not run campaigns before. We train them in-house. We have a series of interviews that we have figured out, like what makes somebody good at running campaigns. We tend to hire introverts. We look for high IQ people who excel at problem solving. We look for people that have a level of skepticism and curiosity that is well above average. And we just really love it. We like to have a background in anything analytical. Running a campaign is not that difficult. Today, there's a lot of tools that you have that will help you find keywords and do day parting and just all sorts of research that you can do on competitive terms. What we need is someone who is a really good thinker, right? And so we don't see your past experience. You don't have to have managed campaigns for a bunch of years to be good at it. You need to be an analytical problem solver with a penchant for skepticism and testing, right? Our environment here, Sal and I, we've known each other for a long time. As I said, we worked in the affiliate industry, and we have been wrong so many times in our career that we know that it's more important to test and challenge the status quo than it is to have a list of best practices that everyone on the team must follow. Best practices are important, no doubt, because some lessons we find they are sticky and they are semi-permanent, and they do apply to most situations. In Amazing Ads, we often hand out bonuses, though, to people who tried something different, who found a new way. If I had taught them a certain way to build a campaign and they tried something new and their idea works better, we celebrate it, we reward it, we acknowledge it, and we shift to it as our status quo, our new status quo. This is important because the ground that we stand on is constantly moving underneath us. The technology, the pace of change in technology is probably the hardest element of our jobs. Keeping up with the things that change, where people shop, how they behave, how we collect information, how we target them. A minute ago, when Sal was talking about videos, I remember when the most important thing was targeting a placement, targeting a keyword. Today, when you think about what Google or Amazon or Mountain knows about your location, the sites you've been to in the last 90 days, the things you've searched for, the videos you've consumed, the amount of information they know about the person who is about to see the ad is so much more than the simplistic view of keywords and bids attached to them. This new era of information, they can't give us the information because of privacy reasons. Another reason they couldn't give it to us, it would be in such volume that we couldn't digest it or derive anything actionable from it. Today is the new era is using AI. So if you're going to collect this information, Sal was saying how important creative is going to be here. If you think of Google as a big black box, there's going to be a feedback loop, and that's half of the puzzle. The other one is, what does the creative inspire and who do you aim it at? You want the creative elements are going to become more important than ever. Agencies in the future will work on those two things, improving the feedback loop and improving the creatives. Why is the feedback loop so important? If Google knows all of the searches you've done, they know exactly where you're standing right now because of your phone. You're logged into their Google Maps and Gmail all the time, and they know your history. The targeting that we used to use, the momentary keyword that I'm bidding on, is such a microscopically small picture of the overall targeting mechanism that we're doing. So with a good feedback loop, If you sold somebody something, sold them something else, and then they registered, and maybe they subscribed to one of your lists or something, you actually know a lot more about them than that one purchase. Assign different values to that, pump it back in, and tell the AI what that customer is worth to you. Now, when you've piled up 500 customers and each one of them has a profile of activities that they've done on the internet and the value that they are to you, Google's algorithms are doing tens of thousands of correlation studies, and they start to understand the likelihood that someone clicking on the next ad looks like one of your many customers. And remember, these customers are no longer monolithic stereotype images, right? You can't say today that my customer is this age and this gender and lives in this city. BS. They're all over the place. You have multiple personas and they overlap to a degree that is completely confusing. Give up on that. Let the AI figure out thousands of correlation factors. And the way that you do that, let Google collect the information. They don't have to hand it to us. Have a very powerful feedback loop where you're telling the AI what each person who transacted with you is worth to your business. This will let the AI find more customers, more ad clickers. As you do this, you will watch your ad clicks. If it finds a bot, for instance, they'll know the behavior of that bot doesn't look like the profile we're looking for, and it drives the cost down. If it's someone that looks a lot like the stable of clients that you have acquired already, it'll drive the costs up. None of that requires human control at all. What it requires is a very sophisticated feedback loop.
Yeah, that's really incredible. The more that I think about that and apply it to what you've been doing, I mean, you got to have really talented people to be able to mine that information out. There's no question about that. So Pat, when you have people come in, you like them. Obviously, you said about your employees, hiring people that have not necessarily done campaigns before says you can mold them exactly like you want. Is it the same with clients? Do you find clients that will come in and they have this predetermined idea of the problems or the good things about their business, and they don't allow it to grow well enough by listening to that feedback? Is that really kind of, because I see so many people that get so many calls from marketing agencies like every day. So at some point they distrust it. Would you like those customers come in sort of green and let you mold it? Is that the idea?
You can be green or you can be well on your way. You're still going to have a lot of inefficiency in your advertising. There's just so many mistakes that can be made today on so many fronts in so many ways that if you think about a client, and let's say they have 3 years of experience advertising their own product, to me, that's actually a very narrow view of how the advertising world works. They only know the channels that they had taken the risk to play in. In an agency, we see so many clients, so many platforms, so many experiments that our breadth of testing is incredibly larger than any client that walks in the door, even the ones who are sophisticated and advanced. If you're hiring in-house and building a team like that, you better be very, very large, because the advantage of having an agency that has seen all these different problems. Sal mentioned Mountain. As we churn through Mountain, we've learned how to optimize this. I've mentioned Google Ads, Amazon. We do Walmart, Target, social media. We run ads at Lowe's and Home Depot and Wayfair. Any marketplace today, it has parts of its system that influence the way you optimize the campaigns. Walmart, for instance, has a lack of negative keywords and some minimum bids. You have to find your way through these optimizations. If you don't have experience with a bunch of clients at that platform, you will not have the same kind of discovery that we have. Yeah, so the idea that we have analytical problem solvers who are skeptics, who challenge the status quo, that they also, we encourage entrepreneurial activities here. We don't mind if people work outside of our company. They just have to disclose it with us so we don't have conflicts with our client. When we start having people like Sal has 2 Amazon brands that I know of, and maybe others that I don't. Many of the people on our team sell and have their own brands. They walk the walk, right? And they have learned a lot of this from working here. It is unusual that we train from within. We also promote from within. Of our directors, most of the people, they work their way up to team manager, team leader, what have you. And when they're promoted to a director, they have been with us for a couple of years and they have They have proven themselves through and through. And again, from an efficiency standpoint, if you have worked on 20 different accounts and found success for each of those different ones, you're well prepared for the 21st client.
Yeah, I tell you what, having worked with you guys, I'd say your team is absolutely amazing. It's just, I think sometimes it's really important to have that kind of relationship situation. So Sal, let me ask you this. Is there an ideal type of client for video? Like I think a lot of people, because I know that's really, and I don't mean to just pigeonhole you on video if there are other things you want to talk about, but I know that you're really kind of an expert there. Are there people out there that are scared to death of video? Maybe they think they won't look good or they don't know how to decide how to do it. In a day where you can pick up your cell phone now and do a lot of videos that really work for your business, how do you really approach that? What's the perfect client for you in that aspect?
Yeah, TikTok changed the world, and the pandemic changed people's mindsets of how they perceived video. The rapid growth, right? We've seen this over and over again. The adoption rate of new technologies or platforms, right? It happens faster and faster now. With video specifically, I think there's two kinds of brands, two types of companies, right? There's the entrepreneur that doesn't want to like be on their cell phone because they're like, either I don't have time for it, I'm not sure what to say, I don't think I look good on camera, I've got a lot of all the excuses that they make about that. But for brands, right? Pat, you own brands, I own brands, our clients all have brands. There's not a person per se on camera. Some of them will go hire somebody to be their brand ambassador. They'll hire influencers. They'll work with platforms like Billo to create UGC style videos, right? That type of thing. We could find a spokesperson for a brand, right? I mean, if we think about Nike, right? There's no face of Nike. It's all the athletes that use Nike, right? So in the same way as we think about creating video for platforms, if we're trying to grow an organic YouTube channel, that's different than trying to create ads for an ad space like YouTube advertising or Mountain. So those like in Mountain, it's connected TV. Has to be a tight 15-second, 30-second spot, professionally shot. It needs to feel and look like a TV ad, as opposed to a YouTube ad, a TikTok ad, a Facebook video ad that feels vertical, more UGC style, big captions, needs to have a hook up front so people understand that what they're going to communicate or the value they're going to get from that video. So there's different tactics for different platforms. Right. So it's very brand dependent, depending on your goals, the nature of the brand, and what type of personality that brand wants to have in the marketplace.
That's a great answer.
Possible on a very small budget and a very small scale. Quick story. You know that I'm in print on demand. This cup has my name and nautical flags. We have a line of mugs that have grandma on there. Our crew went to Billo and they scripted out this video of this young lady talking about this grandma mug. And the story that she tells, it chokes me up even thinking about her video. I own the company. I'm pretty cold about things. I use a repricer to make sure I'm efficiently entering the marketplace. I use all kinds of automation and AI to reprice things. But her talking about my grandma mug brings tears to my eyes. It's so authentic. And that authenticity, that's something that brands crave, right? Sal and his crew told me, Pat, just give us a tiny budget for one of the brands I own. Let us make a couple of videos on Billo, which is a UGC platform where you have a high degree of control over the content curation. I would like to meet the woman in that video someday and let her know that she brings me to tears just thinking about what she said about my grandma mug.
And I think the important thing about these things like platforms like Billo that we talk about, so a lot of people, brands, entrepreneurs, they'll look at that and go, oh, I can just use Billo and create a video ad for $100. But if you don't put the right creative brief, if you don't take the time to search for the creator, right? Like that was what we brought to the table on that project. It's like we had to go find the right person. We created the right script. We ideated that entire journey for this person to be able to create that video. Right. Without that creative input, you just you send a mug to somebody and hope for the best. Right. Like, right. So
that's ridiculous what he just said. Right. If you just package up one of your products and send it out the door for free and you didn't vet them, you don't know their audience, you don't know their followers, you don't know the nature of their posts on social media, you haven't seen the videos that they have produced in the past, you're just throwing crap against the wall and hoping for the best. That kind of strategy is the opposite of the efficiency I was talking about. You cannot waste money like that today. You cannot just, without any regard to research and filtering and vetting, right? In this scenario, Sal and his team, they came up with a couple different scenarios and said, what do you think about this script? Let's go find someone who will do that. The amount of pre-work they did before the UGC happened is why the quality coming out the other end, is not sausage, it's sirloin.
Yeah. I think it's an amazing point. And what's funny is the way that I hear you all talking, I think the overriding thing here, even if you have a new business and it's growing, you can spend a lot of money figuring this out before you actually have any success. And go to someone with some knowledge makes a lot more sense. And that sort of leads me to my next question, Pat. My wife, Sandy, has a small brand that we were doing as a startup as she retired, just, for her to go out and do this. And we came to you after me being an Amazon seller for like 20 years or 15 years, whatever it's been that I've been on Amazon. And you gave me a whole different perspective how to launch a brand. And some of it really didn't have to do with monetizing your all side of this. It was, how do you start the business the best? How do you make the best presence? Go out and get the right reviews. Do you look at it from an analytical standpoint where someone is and then say, let's set a plan that doesn't necessarily have to involve PPC advertising immediately, but these things can have an impact? How far do you go with that when you're working with people at Amazing Ads?
We go pretty deep. First, many of the marketplaces, they are momentum plays. They are, because of reviews and the nature of the feedback loop in social awareness, you can't just jump in the deep end of the pool and find success right away. You have to plan for it. You have to take advantage of timing with inventory. Pat, in your business, we actually consulted with you on logistics and shipping from overseas. Now, most PPC companies are just going to optimize your campaigns and leave it at that. We don't stop there, right? We make videos for our clients. We want to make sure if you can trim money out of your logistics pipe and you can sell your product at a little bit lower price, you can compete a lot better, right? Anything that helps us win, we want to talk about. So it's just incredible how many different topics we'll talk about. Even on our marketplaces, we actually have two teams, advertising and then everything that isn't marketplace services, and they'll do everything for you. File trademarks, help you with compliance, help you get things through import taxes situation. Even, we do consulting sometimes on company structure, financing. I mean, things that most agencies won't touch. And that's because we are all entrepreneurs here. We're just walking it, talking it, living it, breathing it. I currently have 12 companies, one of which is Amazing Ads, right? I love this stuff. I love talking to our customers. I don't care if they're talking about PPC or any other aspect of winning. I want to win.
And that's where
I get that from you. Go ahead, Sal.
I was going to say, Pat and I were having this conversation the other day. I was like, well, we position us Amazing Ads and we're this performance marketing agency, but it's like, boy, we really need some sort of like business consultancy fractional side of the business that gets carved out, because we're offering clients so much more. We've been down this path. I've had a food brand before, right? A CPG food brand in the past. Like Pat has 12 businesses. Like we've walked and done all this stuff before. We understand exactly what it takes. And so the advertising, when somebody comes to us for the advertising, it's like, yes, I can drive traffic to your page all day long, but is your business ready to compete in the marketplace? Do you have a value proposition? Like the things that make it a business? Because some people jump in to the deep end, as Pat put it, because they think about, shows like Shark Tank are amazing, right? They make the American dream thrive. But there's people that watch that without the context sometimes and just think, well, me too. I could start that business too without any business knowledge. And that's why so many startups fail. We know this. So many startups fail.
It does seem like it's a little easy in theory and different in practice. It's really incredible. I mean, I know I'm with Sal Conca and Pat Grady with Amazing Ads. Pat, can you tell me a little bit, maybe tell the listeners the scope of services? I mean, you don't have to get too deep into it, but if you want to give them an overview of all the things that Amazing Ads can do, because I'm sure I'd leave some things off the list if I gave it to them.
Yes. I'm trying to figure out, we could just start naming channels, but it's really the type of person that we serve. So if you're in e-commerce and you sell on marketplaces, easy, we do that. If you are brand building and you're doing lead generation, we do that. If you are throwing webinars and events, we do that. If you are selling educational services or info products, if you are on the financial services side, legal services side, if you're selling big products, customized products, we do that. I'm trying to think of the things we don't do. I guess we don't do porn or casinos. No problem with that. I just think like I don't like regulated industries. That's one reason, right? But we don't really put limits like that, Pat. People call me and they'll say, "Oh, I'm trying something different. I have a new idea, and I'm wondering if you'll engage with me. If it requires advertising and promotion, if it requires modeling, if you're spending money on services to drive your company, and that includes a lot of them, I think that we would want to take a look at your advertising aspects first. By the way, some of these services we provide, we only engage with people on these other services when we're managing their advertising. So there is a limit to what companies can do and be to all people. We cannot be like a listing company on Amazon. We don't just build lists. If you want to engage with us to optimize every aspect of your e-commerce business, then we can work with you on your listings, if that makes sense. Sal, did you have anything else to add there? Who do we not serve, or who did I leave out of who we do serve?
I think it's the performance-based aspect of what we do.
Yeah.
We're also taking risk and going along for the ride. So if we identify businesses that, like I said before, that don't really have their value prop straightened out or other things, there's a lot of investment there to help somebody build that. Like if they're assuming that the advertising is going to fix their business, it won't fix the fundamentals of their business, right? So you need to have a fire built and understand there's a proof of concept. We're the gasoline, you know.
I will say though that I often tell prospective clients that when I review your PPC, I'm hoping that it's a train wreck.
That's right.
You want him to come in bad so you can make it look really good. I mean,
I do, and frankly, if it's good already, we're probably better served to just, hey, on my 18-point checklist, you're missing this one thing. Go do that. Have a nice life. Whatever agency you're with, think about what it takes to interact with an agency, to grow trust with an agency. I don't like people who are just changing agencies, because it's a new year or something like that. Once you find people that you can communicate and trust in, you should check once in a while to make sure they got all their bases covered. But if someone is largely, serving your needs, that's why I say, I think if I was going to do one thing for a customer and the results were going to only marginally change, just stick with who you have and go do this one change thing. So this does happen. I can remember a very good friend of mine named Dale. He had me review his PPC, and he was like, "You're not going to take me on as a client?" And I was like, "No, you don't need me." And he was like, "I always thought that thing you said about turning clients away, I always thought that was BS. I'm the one you're going to say no to?" I was like, "Dude, your PPC is perfect. There's nothing wrong with it. Go look at the other parts of your business," but it does happen. Sal, I feel like we're leaving somebody out.
There's SEO, we do SEO and we do email and
The channels.
yeah,
Email, social media.
outside of advertising. But yeah, so I mean, listen, all in, if you're looking for an agency that can understand the full customer journey of a business, we can fill those parts of the journey with different channels and traffic. So,
and how your channels interact with one another, right? One advantage to having an agency looking at these things, or an agency that, is performance based, is they're looking to maximize the performance of every channel, not just their channel. We don't look at things in a silo. We look at things holistically, and then we break them down into silo goals and budgets. But that is a critical part of who we are. For sure.
Having watched it from a low level, starting out with a business literally started at zero, we threw to you to say, "Hey, how do we do it?" And I checked my ego at the door and said, "Hey, tell us what we need, what I don't know, because maybe there are better ways to do it." You did some giveaways. We did a lot of things to be able to build reviews, and all of this stuff tended to work. So I'll be honest, I can talk all day about marketing. I know you guys could, but the listeners out there may get bored with us chatting all the time. But so Sal and Pat, tell everyone how they can get in touch with you. Sal, if you want to go first, give them your contact information where they can find you.
Sure, real simple. Sal at amazingads.com. You can visit our website, which is up, amazingads.com. You can find me on LinkedIn at Sal Conca. Happy to answer any marketing business questions. As always, I give a lot of free advice to people all the time. So anybody that, if you just have a question, I'm happy to answer it about Mountain, YouTube, etc.
I mean, Pat, before you do yours, I really think that people need to understand philosophy too, how you talked about it being sort of like a little different and you guys are entrepreneurs. That's exactly how Quiet Light is. That's exactly why I think that it's such a great thing. So Pat, tell everyone how they can reach out and get in touch with you.
Yeah, Pat at amazingads.com. And if you misspell it, it'll come to me anyway. Pat, Patrick, Pat2, all sorts of versions. Just so you know, Pat, our tagline is Dare to be Different. So we realize that we are different. Hiring people and training them to be who we want. We often don't have contracts and durations with our clients. We're very performance oriented. We are. You won't hear many agencies say the things that we say. Here's an example. Hey, your branded traffic, probably not the area you should spend heaviest on. It's partially incremental. Where we really want to compete is on the unbranded traffic. Let's make sure we never mix those two things together. And let's make sure we put budgets and goals on each of those and treat them like they're two separate advertising mediums, which they are. Right? A lot of agencies will just ring up the cash on your brand name traffic, and they're happy to do so and not much more. To us, brand name traffic is like shooting fish in a barrel. It doesn't take long to build that, doesn't take long to manage it. In any case, the interesting part for us, if you're someone who is type A and likes to win, you're going to spend most of your time on unbranded traffic acquisition. And that's what grows a business. That's what powers it forward. And that's what makes sure in good times and bad that you pull ahead of your competitors.
I think the great thing about your agency, first of all, I was at such a calm when I talk to your people. It's really everyone. We do a meeting, there's 6 or 7 people in there. It's not like one person you're talking directly to because you're getting perspectives on everything. Yeah. I think the job you guys do at Amazing Ads is just incredible. I keep using the word amazing. I can't use it too many times there. But I think if you listeners are out there thinking about your marketing, these guys will take you top to bottom and make sure everything is branded the same. All these things, little things that matter add up. But guys, I really appreciate you taking time to come in here. I hope everyone reaches out to you at Amazing Ads. And if you need any information on Pat and Sal, you can always email me too at pat@quietlight.com. Guys, I appreciate you taking the time to come on the Quiet Light podcast today.
Thank you.